Good morning. Once again, I'm Brandy Stitt, the Program Director for the Women's Business Center in Kansas City, and I'm happy to have you join us today. We'll probably have more folks popping on as we get the session started. Today, we are going to focus on the steps to start a business that will be presented by Judy Bumpus, Client Services Manager for the Women's Business Center. Judy does a significant amount of counseling with early stage companies, as well as provides additional training through our Launch You curriculum for individuals that are interested in starting a business. And Judy can talk a little bit more about that after her session is over for those of you that might be interested. We will be recording this session and posting it on the Women's Business Center YouTube channel. Once that is available for you to view, I will share the link with everyone that is registered so that you may revisit that or share the link with any others that you think might be interested in this topic. We do record and post all of our sessions as part of the Women's Wednesday Entrepreneur Series. And so if you have additional topics that you see on our YouTube channel that you'd like to view, feel free to do that as well. We've got a lot of content there that's available for you to see, and a lot of really good business topics that will be helpful for most small businesses that are looking to grow and thrive in this market. So at this time, I am going to go ahead and introduce Judy Bumpus and hand things over to Judy.
Okay, I'm going to share so we get it up. Welcome, everyone. I am looking forward to doing our webinar. So let me pull it up so that we can get started. And it is Intro to Entrepreneurship. There we go. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Like I said, this session is an introduction to entrepreneurship. I'm assuming lots of us that are on or people that are considering starting a business. This is an overview of what needs to happen once you get ready to start a business. Well, the first thing is getting to know each other. As Brandy said, my name is Judy Bumpus. I am the Client Service Manager here at the Women's Business Center. I also own my own small business where I do business consulting and business plan reviews. I've been in business for a long, long time. So I also know this from the entrepreneur's perspective and the business owner's perspective. So what is self-employment? There's lots of ways to say that you're self-employed. You can say you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner. Of course, you're self-employed or you're a sole proprietor. They're all the same thing. It means you own and run your own business. So basically, self-employment is working for yourself instead of working for an employer. Where do we do this? And how do we do it? You can start a home business. So that means you're running a business out of your home. You can buy an existing business that someone has decided they want to sell. You can buy into a business. So that means you can become a part of a business that already exists. There's, of course, businesses that you do on the internet. So you sell things on the internet. You can open a retail location. So that's like a storefront. Or you could start a business within a business. So entrepreneurs will do that to save on overhead. I had a friend that was going to start a tea business. And when she did all the research, she realized it would be really expensive. So she placed her teas in another established business. And then usually you pay that person some percentage of your sales, but you're not incurring all the overhead. So those are the ways that you can be self-employed. And of course, you can buy a franchise. There's other ways, but these are the main ways that you can be self-employed. Where do we work? Where do entrepreneurs work? So if you're home-based, you can work from your home. You can work at your place of business. That's if you have a storefront or an office where you see customers. You can work at customers' locations. So normally, if I am going to facilitate a class, I will go to that organization. So I'm working at their location. And if you're in an established business, you can work there and trade off working. So you can work in lots of different places as an entrepreneur. That's one of the things about entrepreneurship that gives you a lot of freedom to make choices. So who are entrepreneurs? Everyone have dreams. We have many times a day, at least I do, I think, oh, we need this, or I can do this. Those are just dreams. Entrepreneurs are people who act on those dreams. So if you think you can do it better, then if you decide to figure out a way and to open a business to do it better, then you're an entrepreneur. If you just say, oh, I can do it better, that's dreaming. And we all do that. So an entrepreneur is a person who is willing and have the capacity to develop a concept into a business. They also assume all the risk and all the rewards of that business because it is your business and you own it. Okay, so we really don't know for sure what all the characteristics of an entrepreneur is, but these are some things that we know that successful entrepreneurs are able to do. So you need to be a self-starter. There's no one there to motivate you. There's no one there to say, get up, you need to do it. You just have to do it. So you have to motivate yourself. Are you able to work long hours? When you're in business for yourself, you are everything. You're the CEO, you're the tax person, you're the person that pays the bills, you're the housekeeper. So usually you're working long hours, especially in the beginning when you're actually learning. It will take you a little bit longer until you make enough money, you have enough of a profit that you can outsource and have someone else help you do some of the chores that entrepreneurs have. Then are you persistent? Got to be persistent because you're going to hear a lot of no's when you're selling. But that doesn't mean that no doesn't mean anything about you. It might just mean the customer don't need your services at that moment. So you've got to be persistent when you are in business. And also, I want to encourage you, if you have questions as we do this, put it in the chat or raise your hands. Feel free to ask questions. So are you organized? As I just said, when you're an entrepreneur, you are everything, so you've got to be organized. You've got to have systems, how you do things so that you can get everything accomplished. You have to be decisive. You got to look at all the options and make a decision. You can listen to what other people says, advice, but you still have to make that decision. If not, then your business just becomes stale and stagnant. So you've got to be able to make this decision. The cool thing about that, if you make a decision and it doesn't work the way you want it to, then you can just choose to do something different. You need to know how to find and use resources. Kansas City is actually very rich in resources. So there's tons of business resources that exist out here to help entrepreneurs start up, to help entrepreneurs grow. One of the main resources that help entrepreneurs find other resources is KC Source Link. So that's KC as in Kansas City, sourcelink.org. And they will help you figure out to find services that you need. Do you have the ability to take calculated risk? Entrepreneurship is a risk. You're not going to have checks hitting every week, every 2 weeks. Your profits is how you make money. So it does take risk. You need to be able to look at everything, evaluate it, and then base whatever risk that you're going to take on the facts. This is not just guessing. It has to be based on research and fact. Some of us are risk takers by, our personality is that way. Some of us are more conservative, and there's nothing wrong with that. It takes all types of people. So what I mean by being a risk taker, you have to have the kind of personality that you're not consistently worried all the time. If not, you'll make yourself crazy. You have to be able to sleep and not be stressed out all the time, worrying about what will happen. Once you have done the research, done the work, then you have to be able to let it go and trust that it will work out. What does it take to be successful? You need to have a product or a service that customers need or want. You need to be able to charge enough to cover all your costs, so that you can make a profit. We pay ourselves from the profit in the business. So the product or service customers need or want, we need to be able to charge them enough that we can cover all their costs and we can still make a profit because we pay ourselves from the profit. You need to be able to have a vision for your business and where you want it to go in the future. You've got to have energy, enthusiasm, and a strong work ethic. As we said before, you work hard. You have to work hard to get your business going. So, and you have to have the energy to do that. You are your best marketer, so you have to have a lot of enthusiasm about what you're selling. You gotta be confident. I love this graphic. Today the dog and tomorrow the world. That's how entrepreneurs need to think. We're very confident. We will hear no. We will move on to the next customer. We have to be confident in the choices that we make for us to be successful. And like I mentioned before, we need to know how to reach out to business resources. You need to have people who will support you both professionally and personally. What do I mean by that? Especially if you're going to have a home-based business, you're going to have people in your home that recognizes that you're running a business. Children, significant other, partners, whoever they are, need to understand in the beginning that you will be working a lot. They need to be supportive of that. When you're on deadline, since it's only you have to work at odd hours. So you need people who support you professionally and personally. You have to have the ability to ask for help, to get input from other people. Listening and getting input does not mean that you have to do what they say. It means that you've got a different perspective. So the ability to ask for input is very important. When you are in business, it's really hard to evaluate your business because you're right there in the middle. What's another person can help you look at the business all the way around. The Women's Business Center, actually, I'm the person here that helps people do that, to evaluate their business and see where they can go from the point that they're at. You got to have money. You got to have adequate capital. It doesn't matter. Some businesses are more expensive to form than others, but every business, when you're in that startup stage, you're going to incur cost. If it's a business license, if it's getting business cards, if it is setting up a web page, got to be able to do something and know how to and have some money to get you started. If you're a retail, location that like you're selling clothes, you need a lot more money because you'll need inventory. You must have some money management skills. So you will manage your business the same way that you manage your personal money. If that's an area that you need assistance in, one of our partner organizations, the Women's Employment Network, have financial literacy coaches. Their services are free. They're a good place to get help with money management and financial literacy. Got to have some management skills. Most of us, when we go into business, we know what we're doing. We know what our craft is. What most entrepreneurs have challenges with is how do you run and operate the business? I always tell entrepreneurs, running a business is like anything else. You need to learn how to do it. I always suggest that you take some type of class, an entrepreneurship class, which is different from a business management class. An entrepreneurship class teaches you about owning your own business. Most business classes teach you how to be like a middle manager. and to work for someone else. So an entrepreneurship class is a very important thing for entrepreneurs to take. Okay, I'm going to stop for a second and see if anybody have any questions at this point before we move into the next section of the presentation.
Judy, no questions so far in the chat.
Okay, so we're going to move ahead. This section is how you make your business legal. So I'm going to give you an overview of the steps of making your business legal. It is important that you register your business and take these steps so your business is legal. So the first thing I tell people to decide on a structure for your business. How do you want to register your business, or do you want to register your business? So registering your business and forms of business has a couple of implications. The type of business, the form that you register has to do with your personal liability. It has to do with how you financially structure your business. And it also has to do with how you pay taxes in that business. And we're going to look at each form of business, or the major forms of business anyway. Okay, so the first form we're going to look at is a sole proprietorship. Then we're going to look at a partnership. And we're going to look at an LLC, or a limited liability company. Then we will look at corporations, so a SCorp or a SCorp. So if you go into business and you don't do anything, you baked a beautiful cake for your niece's birthday, and people that were there said, "Oh, that's really nice. It tastes really good. It's beautiful. Would you bake my child one?" So you bake a cake for that other person, and then people see it at that birthday, and pretty soon you're making cakes. That's what we call sliding into business. It just happens. Lots of entrepreneurs slide into business, so they don't do anything to formalize their business. If you don't do anything to formalize your business, when you go to pay taxes, at the end of the year, there's a question that says, did you receive money on a 1099, or did you receive money from a business? And if you say yes, then the IRS says that you will pay taxes as a sole proprietor. Some of the benefits, and you pay taxes on your own, on your personal tax forms. You do a Schedule C. Advantages of being a sole proprietor: you receive all the profits. You're taxed only once on your personal return. You make all the decisions. Because you don't do a lot, it doesn't cost you a lot to form it. If your business is legal, that means if you're selling legal stuff, there's very few legal requirements or restrictions for your business. And it's simple to organize because you really don't do anything. So if there are advantages, there are also disadvantages. Remember I said that one of the implications of forms of business is the type of liability that you will incur as the owner. If you're a sole proprietor because you don't do anything to separate yourself from the business, you personally have unlimited liability. So if you are in Missouri, you can lose everything that you own, including your house. If you're in Kansas, you can lose everything you own except for your house. So you and the business are one. Because you and the business are one, you have limits in raising funds. And as I said, you have no legal separation. So you've done nothing, and so you're a sole proprietor. If there's two of you that are going into business, then you would have what is called a partnership. Partnerships are pretty simple to form. You can do a separate legal status. The profits are taxed at the person on your tax return, and you only pay your taxes at your rate. And then your partner pay their taxes at their rate. So you make sales, you pay all your bills, whatever is left over is your profit. And then you split that profit at what you agreed on. So when you get into business, especially in a partnership, this can be pretty messy. you need to have a partnership agreement. So, and you really should get an external person to help you write it. The best person to help you is an attorney, because they know everything that can go wrong. And it needs to spell out what you're responsible for, what your partner is responsible for, how you're going to split the profits. It needs to be very, very clear. Most people that work with businesses will tell you this is the messiest form of business. Because when you get into business, everything is great. Most of us will disagree at some point because we're human. When we disagree with our partners, we have to have a way to break that disagreement. If not, the business will stand still, and nothing stands still. If your business is standing still, it's going to die. So businesses are either growing or dying. So you need to decide what partnership agreements you will have. You can create a separate legal status. It's taxed only once and is taxed at the partner rates. Those are the advantages. The disadvantages are there is a unlimited liability to a general partner. I just talked about decision making can be divided, which means you've got to have a way to come to an agreement. And it's difficult to transfer ownership in a partnership. So let's say you're in a partnership and you have a wreck and your partner is now in intensive care. What are you going to do? Is that person's who is going to help you make decisions? So it's pretty difficult. Both of you would have to decide to transfer ownership. Lots of times what people have to do is, close that business and reopen it. So if you're going to go into a partnership, I would suggest you get someone outside of you to help you make that decision and to create a partnership agreement. Then limited liability companies are the common form of business that lots of small entrepreneurs are choosing. A limited liability company, it's kind of a bridge between a sole proprietorship and a corporation. So what are some of the benefits? You actually, for a limited liability company, you actually register your business, and you register your business as an LLC. Normally we'll do that on the Secretary of State's website. So when you register your business, you separate yourself from the business. So Judy Bumpus is one entity, and Bloom Business Consultant is a separate entity. Usually LLCs are taxed as sole proprietorships. So you pay taxes on your own tax form, your personal tax form. You can have one owner in LLC. You can have 100 owners in an LLC. So you can have an unlimited number of owners. And if you have many owners, you are not responsible for your partner's actions or negligence. Disadvantages. If you have someone created for you, you're going to have to pay them, and it usually costs a lot. But like I said, lots of entrepreneurs can go to the Secretary of State's website and do it themselves. There's more paperwork because you're having to do something. If you live in Kansas, there's annual paperwork that you need to file. And then, of course, it's on your personal taxes. Corporations. Some entrepreneurs choose to be registered as a corporation. Certain industries, you're required to be a corporation. So you separate yourself from the business, so there's limited liability. You can transfer ownership by selling stocks. It's easier to raise capital by selling stocks. In a C Corp, there's company paid tax fringe benefits. And then there's some tax benefits for being a corporation. There are some disadvantages. In a C Corp, there's double taxation. Let me tell you what that means. It means the business pays taxes, and then they send parts of the profits to the shareholders, and then the shareholders then have to pay taxes. So that same money gets taxed twice. Corporations can be costly to form. We usually need someone outside of ourselves to help us set it up, usually an attorney. And of course, there's more paperwork. If you're a corporation, you have to do an annual meeting, you have to do shareholder meetings, you have to send notices annually out to your shareholders. There's paperwork that you need to sign. So if you're trying to decide what you want to do when you're starting, you need to talk to an accountant and to see what are the benefits of being a corporation versus not being a corporation. So we've talked about a C Corp, and now we're going to talk about an S Corp, which is a corporation that's registered as an S. Limited liability because you separate yourself from the company. Only shareholders pay taxes, so you only pay taxes once. You can sell stock to raise money, and you can transfer ownership through selling stock. So those are the advantages, and of course, there's some disadvantages. It can be called, no, we went back. It can be costly to form because you are going to have somebody help you do it. You have to meet the SCorp requirements, which are some of the things like holding meetings, doing annual reports, sending out notices to your shareholders. So there's some requirements. It a lot more paperwork or administrative. So that's some of the disadvantages. And in the S Corp, there is no company paid fringe benefits. Okay, so once you've chosen a form of business, then you need to register the name of your business. To register your name, you would go to the Secretary of State, Missouri or Kansas or whatever state you're in. And that's where you register your business name. Before you do that, I would Google and make sure no one else is using that name. I would check on the Secretary of State's website to make sure no one else has registered that name. Because if somebody else already owns that name, they can send you a letter to make you stop using it. And when you have to stop using the name, it's expensive because you have to redo the website, you have to redo all your marketing materials. So I would definitely check. If you live in Missouri, you have to register your name as a fictitious name. So unless your name, the business name is your exact name. So my business would need to be named Judy Bumpus. Then I wouldn't have to register it. My business is Bloom Business Consultant, so I have to register that Secretary of State's website. It's like $7 to register your name. If you're in Kansas, you do not have to register a fictitious name, but you do have to register it on the Secretary of State's website. When you choose a name, there's a couple of suggestions. You need to make sure that there's a URL for it because, everybody now is online. You have to be online. Even before the pandemic, business owners need to have an online presence. So you need to make sure that no one owns your name already. There are businesses now that own lots of URLs and that's their business. And then you have to buy it from them and it's not that cheap. Do your Google search, look at the Secretary of State to make sure no one else has it. Your name should be short. It should be memorable. It should be, when people hear your name, they should be able to tell what type of business you're doing. People will see your name before they see you. So you want to have a name that says, this is what I do. Okay, so once we've done looking at our names, we need to get legal. Because we're in the US, we need to get legal with the federal government, the state government, the city, and sometimes county. And we're going to talk about them one at a time. So, the federal government, the IRS likes for us to have an EIN number. That number, what I like to think of it as a social security number for your business. So you go to irs.gov and that's where you get your EIN number. And you use it wherever you would normally use your social security number in reference to business. While you're on there, we all know when we work for someone else before we even see our check, Uncle Sam comes first. Same thing when you work for yourself. So some of the things that entrepreneurs need to think about is that we have to pay income tax. When we make a sale, that money is not our money. A sale is just that. Sale is not profit. We normally have to pay our taxes on that sale. We normally have to pay our overhead on that sale. And we normally have to pay our cost of goods on that sale. So usually the IRS wants you to pay quarterly taxes. We as entrepreneurs have to pay self-employment taxes, which is like our FICA and our Medicare. You know, when you work for someone else, they pay half of that and you pay half. If you work for yourself, you pay all 15.38 ... percentage. And then if you have employees, then there's a whole different groups of things you need to do. So get on the IRS's website when you're ready to get started, get your EIN number, register your business so you can pay your quarterly taxes. You will pay your self-employment taxes when you go to file your taxes at the end of the year. If you have employees, that puts you in a different category. You still need, an EIN number, but then you need to pay your FICA for your employees. You need to have unemployment taxes. You need to have a workman's comp insurance. If you're going to have employees, I would suggest you do some consultation with someone to help you walk through the step, because once you move into having employees, it's a little bit more complicated. So that's the federal government. The state. The state requires, if you're selling a product, that you now collect taxes. Just like you go to the store and you have to pay taxes, the states require that you collect taxes. You would go to the Department of Revenue, whatever state, Missouri, Kansas, whichever state you're in, and you get an ID number from the state. You have to get a retail sales license so you can collect taxes. You have to figure out when you can turn it into the state. So you register. If you have employees, you need to register with the Department of Labor and follow whatever requirements your state have for employees. Cities. Every city has its own rules, so it's kind of hard for me to tell you exactly what it is. If you live on Kansas City, Missouri proper, Kansas City, Missouri has a department that will walk you through that. And that department is called BizCare. So if you live or you have your business in Kansas City, that's the area that you would go to. If you're in another city, I would suggest you go to your city's website and start there. Usually there's a tab that says doing business with, or having a business, or business services. If you hit that tab, then it'll tell you what the requirements are for you to have a business in that city. Normally cities can charge you local taxes. If you're in Kansas City, then there's a 1% tax that you pay. Cities sometimes have zoning rules. They have property taxes. If you have a home-based business, your neighborhood association may have requirements. Sometimes they want you to have a business or a merchant's license. I know Kansas City, Missouri requires a business license. If you're going to have a building, there's building codes that they require. Depending on your industry, let's say you're going to open a restaurant or a food business, there's usually health department rules. And so depending on what you're doing, there's different rules that govern your industry. You need to figure that out with your city. Do we have any questions at this time?
Judy, there's a couple questions related to starting and registering a nonprofit organization. I did in the chat include a link to the Midwest Center for Nonprofit Leadership, but I'm not sure if there's anything else you'd like to add to that.
I have a great tool if they contact me that is actually set up, and you can walk through that tool, and they'll talk to you about nonprofits. They'll help you evaluate your ID. So if that person wants to email me, and my contact is going to be at the end of this, I'd be happy to share that tool with you. It's free. The Nonprofit Center is a great place to start. What I will say with nonprofits, you run your nonprofit pretty much like you run a business, a regular for-profit business. It's just different ways that you register it, but you need all the other stuff when you're running a nonprofit. So if you drop me an email, I will send you a great tool that you can use to help you evaluate that also. Other questions, Brandy?
No, there's just one question with contact information for Casey BizCare, so I'm going to include that link as well.
Yeah, and Casey source link, if you can do that.
Yes, I will.
Thank you, Brandy. Okay, so I have just given you some websites where you can look up things depending on what you're doing, and it's going to be in the webinar that Brandy will post. Okay, so we've talked about registering our business, getting ourselves separated from our business. This is American. We like to sue, so we must have insurance. If you're an entrepreneur, you need to look at what you're doing. You need to categorize your risk, analyze what must be insured, and then figure out what type of insurance that you have, that you need. So some insurances are required by law if you run certain industries. Some insurance are required by a lender or a landlord because they want to make sure that if there's a fire, that your insurance will pay for it. Lenders sometimes require insurance because they want to make sure that if you buy stuff with the money that they lend you, if anything happens, you can still pay it back. So there's lots of reasons why you need to have insurance when you're in business. Sometimes when I do contracts, they require that you have so much insurance. And once again, everybody's just trying to cover themselves. So you must have at least a general business liability policy if you're in business. So it's a general business liability policy that will help you cover just about anything that happens in that business. Okay, so as I said, entrepreneurs, we've got lots of stuff. We cannot be everything. We cannot know everything. So we need some outside assistance. I just talked about getting insurance, so it'd be good to have an insurance agent. You should have someone to help you with your financials and someone to help you sometimes file taxes. So you can have a CPA or an accountant. These are not employees. These are people that we go to that are running their own businesses. A lot of times we need an attorney. We got to have a banker because we need to have a business bank account. And then sometimes we're wanting to borrow money. We need to have a banker. We need to look at business resource organizations. And the Women's Business Center is a resource organization, and we help you grow your businesses. Casey SourceLink has, the last time I checked, 150 different resource organizations. So like I said, Kansas City is rich in resources. Marketing, we need to have someone to help us with marketing. I always say, not because you have clipboard, it makes you a marketing specialist. Marketing is really important in a business because people usually see your marketing stuff before they see you. So you want to have them look really good and say what you do. I'm going to go over very briefly a business plan. A business plan you really need when you start a business. It is a roadmap to being successful. It's a live document. You should change it. You should update it. Having a business plan gives you a much better chance of being successful in your business. What's in a business plan? These are the main, main sections. If you haven't seen a business plan and you're wanting to do a business, I would get online and look at some samples so that you have an idea of what it is that you're looking for. I'm going to talk about the main sections of the business plan. So the main sections is your management and organization, your business description, your marketing plan, and your financial plan. Your business description talks about your product or services and how it meets the need. It lists specific consumers, who are your target customers that you will serve. It explains who your what your competitive edge is. That means, why will people buy from me? Why will I be successful? The management and organizational plan, I think about it as, this is the way you convince the reader that you know what you're doing, that you can run this business. So you're going to talk about the management and how you will organize and operate your business. So this section should have your structure. Are you a LLC? Are you a sole proprietor? Are you a corporation? It should talk about who you are, and if you have other people that are in management positions, you need to talk about who they are. So you want to list all the reasons why you would be a good manager. You've been in a management position on a job, you have run, whatever you've done. It doesn't necessarily need to be just owning a business. Do the same with your management team. And if you have a board of directors, then you want to also list the qualifications of your board. So these are the people that are going to run your business. And you want to talk about them to convince the reader that you know what you're doing. You could say that you took Launch U, so you learn how to manage that, run a business. You can say you took a management class, an entrepreneurship management class, not a middle management, to help you run your business. The marketing plan. This plan helps you look at your industry nationally and locally, and it helps you to look at what your market is and how to market to your customers. In a marketing plan, your best friend is a research librarian, because they can help you figure this stuff out. Let me see where we are. Let's move on. And then the last big piece of your business plan is your financial statements. There's a number of financial statements that you need in a business plan. So you would need an income statement, you need cash flow projections, and a balance sheet. For very small entrepreneurs or micro entrepreneurs, your cash flow is probably your main financials. And that's the one that we run our business on. So let me briefly tell you what they are. An income statement or a profit and loss statement, usually do it annually. And I've given you the definition, but basically what it is you look at what all your sales are, you look at what all your expenses are, and you take your expenses away from your sales, and hopefully you have a positive number. If you have a positive number, you have made a profit. If the number is negative, so that means your expenses are more than your sale, then you have a loss in your business. That's all a profit and loss statement is. What you have to do, though, is collect all your expenses and collect all your income to be able to do a profit and loss statement. The second statement, like I said, is a cash flow statement. It really is a way that we track money coming into our business and money going out. So it's a way that you track your sales and your expenses. Usually it's done monthly. Only cash is on your cash flow statement. If you have money out, you have invoices out, it does not go on your cash flow statement until you receive it. When you're a startup, you do a projected cash flow statement. And then you need to learn how to do that. It helps you evaluate the market, you evaluate costs, and then you can project out sales. We will also cover cash flow in the business class that is coming up. Okay, your balance sheet. A balance sheet is a way that you look at all the assets, that's what you own. All the liabilities is what you owe in the business. And if you have any capital already invested in the business. And then you look at what you owe versus what you own, and that should balance out over a period of time. Then you should have supporting documents. Supporting documents basically is anything that the lender asks for or the person asks for. Normally you'll have your financial documents that we just talked about. always suggest that people put a personal resume and a business plan on the back because you are your business and I want to know who you are when I read it. Personal financial statements, if you're going for funding, I want to know what you are worth. And that's what a personal financial statement tells me. Copies of any legal documents. So if you've already signed a lease or a contract, that would go in there. A lot of times letters of references work well. And that other is if you're going for money, you have to include anything that lender asks for. And they will normally tell you what they need. Sometimes lenders will ask for tax returns. So whatever they ask for, you need to attach here. Okay, so we at the Women's Business Center have lots of resources. A lot of our resources are free of cost or very low cost. Right now we're doing these webinars that we're offering. And like I said, I have a class that's coming up. We do workshops and seminars. We do financial series. We do individual consultation that are free of cost. As I mentioned, financial education. We have a growth mentoring program. So we have lots of services to help entrepreneurs be successful. The business class that we're currently offering is Launch You, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that at the end. So, Brandy, could you put my email in there? I thought it was on here, but it's just, or man,
I sent it earlier, but I will send it. I'll put it in the chat once again.
So if you want an individual consultation, the person that had questions about the nonprofit, drop me an email, and then we can set up a time that we can talk. I want to talk to you a little bit about Launch You. Launch You is we're offering it online. We did it online the last time, and we're doing it online this time. It is a business curriculum that's offered across the country. It is to help people start or grow a business. It covers everything from am I an entrepreneur, my product and service, who my competition is, how do I need to register my business, how do I keep records. It teaches you how to do your financials. So it's a very comprehensive class. If you come to class, and you do your homework, because each week we'll present a topic, and then you'll break in either into a small group, or we will look at a test business, and you will practice that topic on that test business. Or you'll be in a small group with a coach who will help you apply that topic to your business. So for example, let's talk about if we talk about target market, then you'll practice it in your small group. And then that week, your homework will be a template to fill out about your business. You fill out that template, you show it to me, you show it to your coaches, we give you feedback, and then you drop it into a template that I will send you. At the end of that class, you will have a completed business plan if you do your homework every week. So we are at the point of questions.
Judy, I'm not seeing any new questions in the chat, but I've had a couple requests to share the slides, which we'll send out a PDF of the slides. I've also included links to the Women's Business Center's Eventbrite page, where you can find registration information for our upcoming training sessions, including Launch You that Judy has mentioned. And then I've also included the link to our YouTube channel. As I mentioned at the start, this session was recorded and will be posted on that YouTube channel. We also post recordings of all of our previous training sessions that we've been hosting on that channel as well. So you can find sessions that maybe you haven't gotten able to participate in. Okay, we do have a question on the city department to file your business. So that's Casey BizCare. I will share that link again as well.
And if you're not in Kansas City, you need to start at city, whatever city you're in. So you just Google City of Overland Park, City of Grandview. That's where you need to start, because each city has their own rules. Kansas City just happened to have a whole department to help you. So we're lucky if you're in Kansas City.
Yes, and I will email the slides out to everyone that has logged in to join us today.
Okay. Other questions? If you do have other questions, go ahead and you can also call me or email me. If not, I want to thank you for attending and hope that you are successful at starting and growing your business. And I would look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Judy, and thank you to everyone that joined us today. Just a final reminder that we will send out the slides via email to you, and we will have this recording posted on our YouTube channel. It takes a couple days to edit and upload to YouTube, but I will let you all know when it is available. Thanks so much and have a great day.
Thank you, Brandon.